Hi, this is Yaffi Lvova, registered dietitian, nutritionist, and owner of Baby Bloom Nutrition. I specialize in one-on-one and small group counseling for helping parents to overcome nutrition obstacles through pregnancy, through toddlerhood. And there was a complaint last week that I wasn't wearing earrings. I suppose my choice of earrings is a big part of my broadcast, so here you go, earrings. Today's topic, suggested by a viewer, is extended breastfeeding. I had mentioned extended breastfeeding during my topic on milk addiction, and I guess I really struck a chord. There isn't a whole lot of information out there on specifically extended breastfeeding, so I wanted to address that. I reached out to a few communities asking for questions so that I could really address what you want to know. If you do have any questions that I don't address, please feel free to write your question or comment in the comments below, and I look forward to reading them, and I will address them as soon as I can. So I'm going to make references to some of my other naptime nutritions in this broadcast because now I've done a lot of them and I've got some kind of cross information going on, so you can really benefit best by referring to some of my other topics where I cover those subtopics more in depth. So one of the questions, well, first let's start out with what is extended breastfeeding. Breastfeeding is obviously feeding a baby from your breast. The general recommendation from the US is to do exclusively for 6 months and then up to a year. The World Health Organization, the WHO or WHO, recommends at least 2 years. And you have a lot of different cultural interplay, and I'm not going to talk about so much all the drama that goes into breastfeeding or not, whether you choose to use formula or not. Actually, that's going to be next week's topic, is breast versus formula. Fed is best versus breast is best. This is going to be a controversial one, and I hope you come in and share with your friends. But extended breastfeeding is when you go past a year or past 2 years. It has a different definition for everyone, and that's one of the complications with covering this topic, is that some people see extended breastfeeding as I'm breastfeeding but once a day, or I'm only breastfeeding overnight but not during the day. And some people are breastfeeding a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old throughout the day. And so it's really difficult to cover this topic because it's different for each mother-baby pair, or triad in the case of twins, or maybe triplets. So I'm going to try to do the best that I can. So one of the questions was what to expect when nursing through a pregnancy. Well, that's a really good one, and I did cover that one specifically, but a lot of women feel a nursing aversion. There are help groups with that, but when you're trying to nurse through a pregnancy, you could get the feeling that like your skin starts to crawl. You get very anxious during nursing. And some women take that as a sign that the nursing relationship is over, and some women pursue through that. It does change your nutritional needs, so I advise you, if what you are doing is nursing through a pregnancy, go back to my naptime nutrition where I specifically cover nursing through pregnancy and what you might expect with that. Someone asked about calcium needs. Well, your general calcium needs through breastfeeding is 1,000 milligrams per day. And I actually also did a naptime nutrition specifically on calcium. The person who asked was concerned about not drinking milk, and milk is not the only source of calcium. There are other sources of calcium as well. But if you are considering taking a calcium supplementation in order to hit that 1,000 milligrams per day, you should definitely watch my naptime nutrition on calcium. There's a whole context to it. You don't want to take isolated calcium because it needs to be ingested with other nutrients in order to best be absorbed and used in your body. There are certain actually complications that are currently being researched. The link with calcium supplementation to heart problems. So you really want to look into that and talk to your doctor. One question was if the baby who is exclusively breastfed is showing interest in food at 6 months, should you give it to them? Can they digest it? Can they swallow it? And the truth is 6 months is pretty much the guideline. All babies, when they hit their milestones, they hit milestones at different paces. But generally, when you have a child who is sitting up on their own, who is able to pass food from the front of their mouth to the back without spitting it out, who is able to show interest in food, they grab food off of your plate, they really show interest in what you're having. There are certain ways to know if they're ready. And 6 months is generally the guideline. Some babies hit those marks a little bit earlier, but I wouldn't suggest earlier than that. When you choose to do extended breastfeeding, you're still going to introduce food at the appropriate time. Food introduction is a whole topic in and of itself that I have not covered on Naptime Nutrition yet, but the general rule is that before 12 months, it's not a major source of nutrition. I'm going to say before 10 months, it depends on the kid, but it is a major source for hitting other milestones. You're developing taste, you're developing manners at the table. It may not seem that way, but they are. There's a whole relationship that goes on with the parents when you're sitting at the table with them. They're developing those muscles that are going to be so important for nutrition later on and for speech. They're being exposed to different colors and textures. There's so much that's important about feeding your child food. So whether you decide to introduce food, you're going to decide with your doctor when it's appropriate, but you are going to introduce food along the same lines as if you're choosing to not extended breastfeed. Okay, I have a question. What if they don't swallow? She brings food to her mouth, chews it a bit, and then spits it out. She's almost 7 months. Well, as I said, kids hit these milestones at different times. This is totally normal, and I would have to talk to you specifically about what else is going on, but if that is the only indication that she may not be ready for food, then I would say to proceed with caution. You know, you never want to leave a child at the table unattended with food in general, but you want to pay specific attention to this situation. A baby's gag reflex is way at the front of their mouth. When an adult is going to gag, it's really further back, and it's right before choking. It's not the same with kids. They're going to gag as part of the learning how to eat. I'd really have to know more about the situation to specifically address that, but it's part of her exploration. 7 months is really not that far into the food introduction period, and I wouldn't be that concerned about that at this point. If that's still going on at 10, 11 months, that's something to discuss with the doctor to see if maybe there's need for possible therapy, but that's really getting ahead of yourself to be considering that. Thanks. I like the thumbs up. Does a child need cow's milk at 12 months? This is a really big question. No, they don't need cow's milk. Plenty of kids have almond milk, soy milk, hemp milk, rice milk, what have you. If you are choosing to do extended breastfeeding, then they don't need cow's milk. Your breast milk could replace that. Or you could do a combination of breast milk and cow's milk, or a combination of breast milk, cow's milk, and soy milk, whatever you want to do with that, but they do not need cow's milk at 12 months. The 12-month mark is when it's safe to give them cow's milk to drink, should you decide to go that route. And I'll refer you back to the calcium topic, the other Naptime Nutrition on calcium, to decide whether your child actually needs to have cow's milk or something else. How much is too much? Well, that's a big question. You could look at it different ways, and I'll address it from 2 different angles. How much is too much emotionally, and how much is too much milk-wise? When you are breastfeeding, you don't know exactly how many ounces your child is getting. There are no tick marks on your breast to tell you how much they're getting. So if you're very curious as to how much exactly they're getting, what you want to do is go during a normal feeding time to a place where they have a very sensitive scale. Locally, we have the Arizona Breastfeeding Center. They have a feeding room where you can weigh your child before and after feeding, and you'll know exactly how many ounces they're getting. And that can help you to determine what kind of nutrition they're getting from your breast milk. It's really different for everybody, especially when we're talking about extended breastfeeding. Sometimes as they get older, they're going to nurse a lot throughout the day, but it's a couple minutes here and there. They're really just doing it for comfort. There isn't much nutrition involved. So your needs for a 1-year-old is about 24 ounces of milk per day, whether that's breast milk, formula, cow's milk, whatever it is, it's about 24 ounces a day. A 2-year-old is 16 ounces, a 3-year-old is 8 to 12 ounces. I think I hear a child who's supposed to be sleeping. Well, that's the fun with Naptime Nutrition. My kids are homesick. Wish me luck. Okay, so where to draw the line? This is where we come up to something really emotional. It's up to you as the mother where to draw the line. When you reduce or end the breastfeeding relationship is when you and or the child is ready. And nobody else can tell you when that point is. You can discuss with professionals such as myself, with your pediatrician, with your naturopath, whoever you're seeing. You can see my child behind me who doesn't know I can see him. You can come down. It's okay. It depends on what your circumstances are, where you draw the line. There are a lot of different circumstances you may be dealing with. If you are extended breastfeeding and you're working, oh, yeah, it is funny. He's a funny kid. If you're extended breastfeeding and you're working, you may pump. You can freeze it. Sometimes the child won't take from the bottle. They really just want from you because you're at the point where your breast milk is not their main nutrition, and they are really, they might not take the bottle. And you can freeze it. You can donate it. There are plenty of things that you can do. Turn it into jewelry. That's something that you want to consider if you want to pump or if you want to stop pumping, but that may affect your supply over the weekend when your child may want to nurse. If your child is sick, they may want to nurse more. If they are having a growth spurt, they may want to nurse more. And this idea proceeds through your breastfeeding relationship. Life changes or milestones are going to cause your baby or your toddler to want to breastfeed more. The benefits to extended breastfeeding include comfort for the child and for the mother also. You get a certain, are you fascinated here? The child and the mother get a certain amount of comfort with the hormone rushes that happen. And as I said, the milk is easier digested and might be the primary nutrition during certain times when they're sick, etc. There's a reduced risk for certain inflammatory diseases and cancer in the mother with extended breastfeeding. So these are considerations. It's up to you whether you want to do this or not. It's nobody else's business when you start or stop breastfeeding, and just this is a distraction. So keep it in mind. Talk to your partner, talk to whoever you need to make your decision that's best for you and your child. And if you choose to breastfeed through age 3, 4, whenever, it is always a nutritious drink. It's not necessary for nutrition, but there are other benefits, emotionally and otherwise. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to comment below. And join me next week for the super controversial topics of breast is best versus fed is best. And I can tell you this is going to be very positive and a happy topic for everyone involved. I don't believe in shaming, and that's going to be one of my main points. So please join me next week at 1 p.m. Arizona time, which is Mountain Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I'm told 9 a.m. the next day in New Zealand. Thanks.